If you could choose just one place that best represents Nobunaga Oda, where would it be? Many people would probably think of Honno-ji. Others might choose Azuchi Castle, the magnificent castle he built. But the answer is neither. The place where Nobunaga Oda first began to envision the future of Japan was Gifu Castle. He was only 33 years old when he claimed this castle. From that moment, in just 16 years, the course of Japanese history would change dramatically. That is why Gifu Castle is remembered for far more than its beauty as a mountain castle. It was here that one man began to imagine a new era, and that is why it continues to captivate people today. Nobunaga Oda did not choose this castle because of its beauty. He chose it because of what it could do. Gifu Castle was not simply a castle built on a mountain. The mountain itself was the castle. At the summit stood the fortress. Halfway up the mountain were defensive positions. At the foot of the mountain stood a residence where he governed and welcomed important guests. Together, the entire mountain functioned as one enormous fortress. Its location made it even more valuable. Protected by two great rivers, it controlled one of the most important routes to and from Kyoto. People passed through here. Goods passed through here. Information passed through here. If Inuyama Castle served as a shield protecting the border, Gifu Castle became the center from which the country could be led. From here, armies could move, cities could grow, and a new nation could begin to take shape. That is why Nobunaga chose Gifu Castle. After taking the castle, Nobunaga Oda made a remarkable decision. He changed its name. The new name was Gifu. Each of the two Chinese characters carries its own meaning. The first character, Gi, represents a branching road, a turning point where a new era begins. The second character, Fu, represents a gentle hill and fertile land, a place where people can live and prosper. Together, the name Gifu evokes the idea of a place where a new era begins and a prosperous nation can grow. Nobunaga was not celebrating the capture of a castle. He was looking beyond it. From this place, he intended to build a new future. Nobunaga Oda was 33 years old when he took Gifu Castle. At that moment, he had just 16 years left to live. Of course, he had no way of knowing that. Looking back, however, those 16 years would dramatically change the course of Japanese history. He stepped onto the stage where Japan's future would be decided. He brought an end to an old political order that no one had been able to change. Then he began turning his vision of a new era into reality, starting with a single castle. But that dream came to an abrupt end. At the age of 49, at Honno-ji, just 16 years. That was all it took for one man to rewrite the course of Japanese history. Gifu Castle was never just another castle that Nobunaga captured. It was the place where Japan's future began to move. Nobunaga Oda is often remembered, both in Japan and around the world, as a ruthless and fearsome warlord. But was victory really his ultimate goal? Was he simply a man willing to do whatever it took to win? In reality, Nobunaga was looking beyond the battlefield. He envisioned thriving cities, new systems, and a country united as one. What he wanted to change was not simply his enemies. He wanted to challenge what everyone accepted as common sense. The shogun deserves power. Was that really true? Temples should always hold special privileges. Was that still the best way? This is how things have always been done. Did that mean they should never change? Nobunaga never stopped asking those questions. Is this truly efficient? Could there be a better way? Perhaps that is why he should be remembered not only as a warlord, but also as a reformer. And the first place where he began turning that vision into reality was Gifu Castle. After taking Gifu Castle, Nobunaga Oda was not simply interested in expanding his territory. He wanted to build a prosperous city. At the time, commerce was restricted by countless rules and exclusive privileges. He reformed those systems, allowing merchants to trade more freely. As merchants gathered, the town flourished. As the town prospered, tax revenues increased. And as revenue grew, the nation became stronger. Nobunaga did not introduce these reforms simply because he was kind. He understood something far more important. Prosperous towns create strong nations. Gifu Castle was never just a fortress built for war. It was also the place where a new vision for society first began to take shape. In Nobunaga Oda's time, most Japanese people had never even seen a foreigner. But Nobunaga was different. He did not fear the unknown. Instead, he wanted to see it with his own eyes. He wanted to hear it with his own ears. He possessed the curiosity of a young explorer. New weapons, new cultures, new ideas. Whenever he saw something valuable, he embraced it without hesitation. That relentless curiosity may have been one of the reasons he was able to change his era. To audiences outside Japan, Nobunaga was far more than a samurai warlord. He was one of Japan's earliest leaders to look beyond his own world and embrace new possibilities. At the foot of Gifu Castle flows the Nagara River, where a tradition called ukai, or cormorant fishing, is still practiced today. For more than 1,400 years, trained cormorants have helped fishermen catch river fish. Long ago, it was an essential way for local people to make a living. Today, it lives on as one of Japan's most treasured cultural traditions. Nobunaga Oda admired this tradition. He even invited important guests to experience it. While he eagerly embraced new ideas from abroad, he also valued traditions that had been passed down for centuries. That balance was also part of who Nobunaga was. From the age of 33, when Nobunaga Oda took Gifu Castle, to the age of 49, when his life ended at Honno-ji, he changed history in just 16 years. In that short time, he challenged old ways of thinking, helped towns prosper, and tried to build a new kind of society. Not everything he envisioned was completed. His dream came to an end at Honno-ji, but much of the path he opened would later shape Japan itself. That is why, even today, people see more than a historical figure in Nobunaga. They see a leader whose ideas still feel remarkably modern. Nobunaga Oda did not want Gifu Castle simply because he wanted another castle. He was searching for a place where his vision for the future could become reality. Protected by mountains. A place where people gathered. A place where towns could flourish. A place connected to the heart of Japan. Gifu Castle offered everything he needed. That is why the true fascination of Gifu Castle is not the castle alone. It is the story of the man who imagined a new future here. And perhaps that is its greatest legacy. So, has your impression of Nobunaga Oda changed? Many people remember him as a ruthless warlord, a man who lived only to conquer. But Gifu Castle tells a different story. Here, we discover not only the warrior, but the visionary, a man who imagined thriving cities, who questioned old traditions, who dared to imagine a new future. Perhaps that is why Gifu Castle is more than a historic castle. It is the place where Nobunaga's vision first began to take shape. If you ever have the chance to visit Gifu Castle, take a moment to stand at the top of the keep and simply look out. More than 400 years ago, Nobunaga Oda stood in that very same place, looking across the very same landscape. Today, we are able to stand where he once stood. We can look upon the same view. When that moment comes, will you see nothing more than an old castle?